Hey, Napoleon.
Hey Dot, how's it going, Dot?
Long time no see.
Yeah, I know. I've been actually taking care of my mom since the COVID-19 thing started, and I guess my last gig was with at the Falcon in upstate New York. On it was actually Valentine's Day, which is tomorrow
Oh,
in
wow.
in 2019. Yeah, no, 2020. Yeah, Valentine's Day 2020 was the last gig I had up in New York at Falcon. You know,
Wow.
that guy died, the owner of the Falcon, he died.
He died?
Yeah, that's his name. Tony Falco.
Oh,
Yeah, he died. He has cancer. He had been fighting cancer for a long time, and he thought he had beat it, because all his hair grew back and everything, and he had he had finished the chemo, but he died just a couple of months ago. It was really sad.
oh,
'Cause he
sorry to
was
hear
really
that.
beautiful. He was a beautiful person, really was. So
Um,
how's it going with you? How you doing? Okay.
well, I'm also getting antsy from the 2 year lockdown, and
Tell me about it.
I'm dying to see some live music.
Yeah, you
And
too.
you're looking well.
Well, I am actually. Thank you. I'm staying healthy. Got a basketball court at the park across the street from my mom's. I try to get over there at least every other day, and I'm eating healthy, making juice and smoothies every day,
You
and
got
taking care of my mom.
Jones.
That's right. Taking care of my mom, which is very challenging because she just turned 97 last November, and she's not walking anymore. She was using a walker, and then we had her in a wheelchair. But now, I have to hoist her up out of bed with a hoist, so I can change the bed and everything. But I'm keeping her healthy with healthy food. She's getting good rest, and I have this compassionate care people that come in 4 days a week, which helps a lot.
That's a good workout, lifting your mom up.
Oh God, let me tell you, I have to do push-ups at night so I can pick her up during the day. But it's
Circle.
challenging, but so are the times that we're living in right now. You know,
She took care of you when you were little, but you weren't
how
that
about that?
heavy.
How about that? Yeah, that's the part that says it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I have, the fans have been asking me, when are you going to do a podcast with Napoleon? I'm like, let me rattle his cage, because I did see something fly by on Facebook that you're having a gig coming up.
Yes, actually, I don't know. Let's see what the date is. Yes, I do actually have gigs coming up. I was contacted by this group in San Jose, and they're called the Stinkfoot Orchestra,
The
and it's a
six
stink
foot orchestra?
no, Stinkfoot,
Oh,
you know,
Stinkfoot. Ah,
Stinkfoot Orchestra, yeah, and it's like a 14-piece. Yeah, right. It's like a 14-piece orchestra. They have 6 horns, 3 background singers, a vibraphone player, guitar, bass, multiple keyboard. This one guy plays multiple keyboards and he sings too, and drummer. So it's a lot of people, but they've got the music down. I mean, they're really good. They practice a lot. And once I heard them, I agreed to perform with them. And we've done we've done 2 shows so far, and we have about, let's see, 6 coming up and down the Bay Area. Actually, we're going to be going to Ventura, down in Southern California too. Let me see if I can.
oh, that's where Patrice lives. Patrice
Who-
Zappa.
Really? She
Yeah.
does.
Yep.
I didn't know that. Her husband died. You know that?
Yes, Nolan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nolan. Oh, I was sad. I didn't see that one coming, because the
Yeah.
last time I saw them at Zappa now, I guess it was 2019, right?
Mhm.
2019. Yeah. They were. He seemed okay. He seemed okay then, and so I didn't really have any idea that he was having any.
1 year ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I had no idea that he had some that he was dealing with any kind of illness, or medical problems or health problems, because
Yeah.
he looks fine. We had breakfast or dinner. Wolfhart and his wife took us to dinner the day after Zappa now, because we were still there in Bad Doberman.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so we went out there and we made plans for the next year and everything. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to go over to, there's an outfit in Norway called Zappa Union or something like that. Zappa Union. Is it called Zappa Union? I
Cool.
think it is called Zappa Union. It's kind of like Zappa now, but not that high, not as fancy as Zappa now. But yeah, the Zappa Union, yeah, and they have bands over there. And I was going to go over there and sing with the big band, and I was supposed to also go to open the new Paris Opera House. It was going to be November the 12th in 2020 with the ensemble Music Fabrique ensemble from Cologne, Germany. I sang with them at the Zappa Now. I'd never met them before. I went down to Cologne. We met. We had a 5-hour rehearsal with only one 20-minute break. And then we went and played Zappa Now on Sunday and killed them. As a matter of fact, there's videos on YouTube that you can check it out. They're really good. Frank's solo and Inca Rhodes, his guitar solo, the whole orchestra plays it.
Wow.
The guitar player he plays most of the parts that are just, only for guitar, but most of the solo itself, the whole orchestra is playing it. And it's like
that.
Because when I heard them, I said, wow, I should have asked them when I come in. But the more they played, the more familiar it became. And I went like, wait a minute, they're actually playing his entire solo, and the guy, his name, Ali Oskin, he had actually did all the arrangements because he was familiar with me. But I had never met them before. And they played Zappa music for a long time, except they didn't have a singer because every time they're very particular about who joins the band because it's like a democracy. I mean, if a new person comes into the orchestra, they listen to them and then they have a meeting and vote that person in or out. But everyone gets to give their opinion about it, and they're a family. And actually, they are sponsored by the city of Cologne, Germany. And the whole time we've been going through this, they've been taking care of them. So it's really beautiful. But they're incredible. If you never heard them before, they are just.
When is all this stuff going to resume again? I mean,
well, the Wolfhard said that he's going to try and do Zappa Now this year. They have it planned, but they're just keeping an eye on how the curve goes up and down with the virus, and they're hoping there's no new variants. As long as there's no new variants, because people, like in New York and everywhere, they're starting to come, get rid of the mask and things like that, where it's optional now for some people, but they're not required anymore. They're not mandating them anymore because, the last variant, the Omicron, it really wasn't as bad. It was more contagious, but it wasn't as deadly as Delta.
Right.
Delta was a dog,
Right. Well,
Go ahead.
I noticed, I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I was too busy with my kid, but I did see some clips.
Yeah.
Nobody was wearing a mask at the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's changing now because the majority of the people are getting vaccinated. And if you're vaccinated, you're basically, it's like anything else, chicken pox, smallpox, or all the other things that we're vaccinated against. Polio. We don't have polio because they had a vaccine, and so I'm happy about that. And I made my whole idea when this thing started, it scared the hell out of me because when I did my research on it, what it said was that if you catch COVID-19, you're going to have a pre-existing condition. You're going to have a condition that's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. And when I did my research, it was from the respiratory system. Okay, I know two singers, one that sings with Hamilton, and another one that Mats and I went and sang, who sang like Broadway music and opera in Stockholm, Sweden. And Mats told me his voice is finished now. And the guy that's with Hamilton that I know, the last holiday, I guess it was they have the thing at the White House where they have the big, I guess it's New Year's Eve, the celebration with all the fireworks and everything. Well, what's her name? I forget her name. She was supposed to be. Anyway, she was a hostess of the show. And for the last song, she had him sing. And he was struggling to catch his breath. Because what happens is that it messes with your respiratory system. Now, so it's freaked me out. The first couple of months, maybe the first 5 months, I was freaked out because what it suggested was that if I catch it, I'm going to have a pre-existing condition after that that's connected to COVID, but it's going to deal with your respiratory system. If I play saxophone, flute, and sing, I'm finished.
Right.
You know, so I put it to myself. I said, oh, well, I'm on a mission to make sure that my mom doesn't catch it, because if I can keep her from catching it, then I won't catch it. And so I came along and took over the care of her totally since then, since it started. This is now 2022. And I got her shots. Actually, I was able to cure her of diabetes because her body was still making its own insulin. Oh, and wow. So being a health fanatic like I am, you know, I started probing this thing, and she was on 13 prescription meds, and I took them to her doctor, and I said, you know, you have to explain to me why she's taking these. And if you can't explain to me why she needs them, I'm not going to let her take them anymore. So we got rid of all but 7. Okay. Nice. Okay. And then I saw that her body was still making its own insulin. So what I did was I started a program with her based on this. Sugar was born brown and watermelons were born with black seeds. And if it don't meet those standards, you can't eat it. Okay. I stopped all no stuff. I mean, really, it's just like, no, not anymore. So no more sugar. It took me 14 months. But then she went back to the doctor because she's had diabetes for years. And her doctor called me because I had this other lady who was a caretaker that I had moved in with my mom for a while because I had to go back and forth to San Jose. And the doctor called me and says, what did you do to your mom? And I said, what are you talking about? And she says, well, I thought it was my instruments, she said. And I borrowed my colleagues' instruments and I got the same results. Your mother is at pre-diabetic level numbers. And what did you do? I said, well, you should be happy because that means, you know, hey, she's not going to be a candidate for dialysis. Thank God. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, yeah, she was just happy about that, but she doesn't have to prick her finger anymore. She didn't have to take, so she was down to 6 medications now, where she was at 13, and she was healthier, you know, and she was eating like a horse, cutting up greens. I got her one of those sit down elliptical machines where they sit down and, you know, like that. Yeah. It's just that, you know, when you get 96, 95, 96, 97, you know, unless you're really physically active, and that's mind over matter, and that's something that you have to do yourself, you know, and you have to want to do it, you know. So she's declining in her age, you know, but at least she's healthy and she's eating. So we should start calling you Dr. Nappy. Better not do that. Someone might come and try to ask me for my license or something. Oh wait, well, no one asked me that. That's right. Okay. No one asked Dr. Dre, right? So there you go. Yeah. Well, you know, I just try to pass things along like that I learned, you know, because my grandmother told me, she says, you know, if you have information like that can help others, if you don't share that information, you don't deserve to have that information. Aww. And so you taught me a lot about health. I used your quote at the bottom of all of my emails in my signature. You told me like 15 years ago, your health is your wealth. And I use that at the bottom of my email. Oh wow, thank you. That's beautiful. That's the truth, though. The truth is, you know, it's absolute. You know, drunk, blind, or crazy, it's always the same. You know, I mean, I can cure heartburn in 5 minutes and acid reflux in 10 minutes. You know, it's just that simple, and it costs you less than $5. And you know, the doctor told me in 2000 that I was going to have arthritis for the rest of my life. And the only thing he could do was give me some pain medication. They were opioids. And I said, no, that doesn't work for me. He says, well, you're going to need some. You'll see. No. And I never discussed it with him after that. But then I did my research and I found out that basically, if you're a healthy person, arthritis is the cause for arthritis. The reason you have arthritis, what the hell now? it has to do with your blood, your bone marrow. Okay. There's a word for it, and it's called, I'll think of it. It'll come up. But anyway,
I'm looking at your fingers and they don't look crooked or anything.
no.
Like-
I play saxophone, flute, play basketball. I mean, I do the whole thing.
Like go like this, go like this. They look great. My dad is 72 right now, and he's got like very crooked fingers.
Oh yeah.
So everybody ages differently.
Well, but also arthritis. The arthritis is it's called I can't believe that. It's calcium deficiency. Okay, that's what I discovered. It's a calcium deficiency. Okay, and if you think about it, you go, okay, what makes something deficient? That means it's not being fed what it needs to stay healthy. Okay, and so if you're talking about arthritis, I mean, how do you have arthritis? Why would your bones and your joints hurt and be sore and everything? And that means that the basic part that feeds them is called bone marrow. So if you have healthy bone marrow, and you're going to have healthy joints. Okay, and so what I did was I got this stuff. They had this guy on 4 o'clock in the morning, and he was advertising this stuff called Coral Calcium. His name is Dr. Bob Barefoot, and he wrote 2 books. And the name of the books is Death by Diet and The Calcium Factor. And in The Calcium Factor, that's what he said. He said arthritis is a calcium deficiency. And all deficiencies, if you feed the deficiencies what they need, then you're not deficient anymore.
Well, isn't it true that walnuts have more calcium than cow's milk?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't checked that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
People think that drinking cow's milk is going to give them a lot of calcium, but you can get more calcium from collard greens and walnuts, actually.
Oh, yes, this is true. This is true. But the product that I take, and what I did was I ordered it after I read his book, The Calcium Factor and Death by Diet, which means, you shouldn't do a diet. You should just eat better. Choose better, make better choices in the food that you eat. And so what I did was that I ordered 6 bottles of this. Wow. And I gave 3 to my mom because she was having problem with arthritis too. And she was a cook. And about 2 months after, I told her, take these every day, Mom. Take this 3 times a day. Take 3 pills a day. I said, you can take them all at once or 1 each meal. It doesn't matter as long as you get 3 in your body every day. And it's gonna take a while to build up, because what you're doing is that you're replacing something. You're fixing something that's deficient. And what it is your calcium deficiency. Okay. After 2 months, she called me. She says, "What is this stuff?" And I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "It's a vitamin supplement. It's not a drug." She says, "Yeah," but she said, my hands don't hurt anymore. And my joints don't hurt anymore. And I never discussed this with my doctor again. And he's still my doctor now. And when he gives me my annual, he says, "Okay, you're 46. Get out of here." And he actually sends me he mails me the results of the test. And it's just, not just, it's positive thinking, but it's what you eat. You are what you eat, I mean, and the thing about it is, like we said, your health is your wealth. And if you put that at the top, I mean, you're going to have, I do vitamin C, but I do vitamin C from rose hips, not ascorbic acid, you see. And when they tell you that heartburn, that you're supposed to eat Tums and all of those kind of things, that's wrong. Because heartburn, the problem, what heartburn is an imbalance in your body's natural acid. It doesn't mean that you have too much acid. What it means is that there's an imbalance. Okay. And now the only way you can fix an imbalance in your natural body acids is what the Native American Indians used to always use as one of their principal principal things that they use for medicine, and it's called apple cider vinegar. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And Mott's makes the best. Mott's makes the best apple cider vinegar.
I have it in the fridge.
You do? Okay. See, that's what I mean. Hold on just a second.
Okay.
So I started taking, wait a minute. What is it? Oh, okay. So after 3 months of taking this, I don't have arthritis anymore. My bones don't, my joints don't hurt. It's called Coral Calcium Ultra.
Okay.
Okay. And what it is that it feeds calcium deficiency because it goes right to the bones. And the way this guy discovered this, him and a bunch of his scientist friends, they went all over the world and they were finding men or women who were 100 and 102 years old out in the yard, just hacking weeds or something like that. And so they tested them, and then they did tests on all the things in their environment that they consumed. Okay. And they found out that in all these other countries, and for these people, what they were consuming, it had very high levels of calcium, but not just calcium itself, but other
Minerals.
parts that were related to calcium. And so what they did was that they found that the richest source of this calcium, which had all these other calcium-related nutrients, they found it in Okinawa, Japan. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to Okinawa, Japan, but I've been there. And Okinawa, Japan, on the beach, where the water is, on like they have a beach in the sand, the waves don't come in and out. It just sits there. Okay, there's no waves. And what happens is that the richness of the calcium and all the calcium related nutrients come from the sea and they go into the sand. And so they get the sand from Okinawa, Japan, and they extract this stuff with all these calcium nutrients, and they make coral calcium. Okay. But anyway, this has kept me from having arthritis, because this has fed the deficiency. And the deficiency was a calcium deficiency in the root. And the root of where calcium causes arthritis is in the bone marrow. So if you have healthy bone marrow, well, then you're not going to have the deficiency of calcium deficiency. But you have to have more than just calcium that you get from milk, because I don't do milk. You see, that was one of my problems. I stopped doing all dairy products because it was interfering.
What about almond milk?
I give almond milk to my mother, and I use almond milk too, but it doesn't have enough calcium and calcium related nutrients and minerals that I need to feed my deficiency, because I'm not doing whole milk anymore. But this does that.
Okay.
Now, this basically would cost $20 a bottle, but if you buy 10 bottles, they give them to you for $10 a bottle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
wait a second. What about magnesium?
For a month, huh?
What about magnesium?
No, this works. But that just has magnesium in it. I'm pretty sure it does. It has. I'll have to send you a picture of this. It has everything in it. Matter of fact, it works so well they took it out of the grocery stores and the big supermarkets. And the only way you can get it, that's when have some. They have the power to do that. But what happened is that I have to order it online. But that works. Okay. Now let's try heartburn. Okay, heartburn is an imbalance of your body acid. If you put in Tums and things like Tums and Xantex, I guess it is Xantec or something like that. It's supposed to be for heartburn, Xanax or something like that. Well, what you do is you contribute to the problem, because you're removing more acid and so it causes even more of an imbalance. This replaces your natural body acid.
Love it. Also, Nappy, I have heard that kind of vinegar suffocates cancer cells.
Absolutely. I don't go anywhere without this. This is I can go to bed with it. I have one in my bag. I don't go anywhere without it, because as a singer, if you start coughing, what happens is that your body's going live bacteria in your throat. Have you seen people who have these cough and nagging coughs and they can't stop?
Yeah.
It's live bacteria. As a singer, I had to figure all that stuff out, because I can't. Frank told me, you're not allowed to get sick. It's period. You have to you can't get sick.
I have never known you to be sick. I've always known you to be vibrant and jumping around. And you did tell me one time, black don't crack. I mean, look at you. Honestly, you still look like you're like 60. Well,
it has a lot to do with the intake, and because I rid myself of all things that aren't good for me. Now, this is like apple cider vinegar and honey. Now, the reason you put 1 part apple cider vinegar, 1 part honey and 3 parts apple cider vinegar. And once you shake it up and it mixes, it never separates and it doesn't go bad. And this is what the Native American Indians this was their main thing that they used for medical reasons. because it was easy to get, apple cider vinegar, and it's unfiltered. So what I do if I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm coughing, I spray this and gargle with it. I go right back to sleep, and I sleep more sound than I did
Okay, well,
before.
tell me why the honey's in there.
The honey is in there, so the honey coats your throat. You see, the honey, if you take the apple cider vinegar by itself, it will stop the heartburn. And actually, if you take it straight, it will knock acid reflux out just like that, but it hurts for a moment because it's so strong, okay? But what the honey does is that the honey allows it to coat your whole throat and your esophagus, okay? And so if there's any live bacteria, it'll kill it, but the honey stays there long enough to kill the bacteria. And it also, if you use your voice too much to where your voice is tired, and that happens a lot, you need to take this to bed with you, or gargle with it. So it's on my bedside table every night. So when I get up and go to the bathroom, I drink spring water, and then I put this in there, and I go back to sleep, and I sleep sounder than I was before, because it's like a soothing medicine that's taking care of everything there. Now the same thing with sodium. It's bad. It's bad for you. Sodium, salt. Salt's not good. If we talked about it. Himalayan pink sea salt.
Yep.
If you're going to have some sea salt, you should use Himalayan pink sea salt. And if you like, say for instance, if you like sushi, you like sushi? You don't like sushi?
I don't like any fish at all.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay. Well, you don't have to worry about it then.
No.
But if you love sushi, and I love Chinese food, I love Chinese food, but soy sauce has 56 to 70% sodium, in it. It's really bad. Okay, well, here's something that looks like soy sauce. It tastes like soy sauce. Liquid. It only has 7% sodium.
Oh, okay.
It's
I was
liquid
buying
amino.
sodium. I was buying soy sauce light, but I should buy that liquid aminos.
Yes, liquid aminos, and made by the same company that makes this.
I gotta write this down.
Brags. And the thing about it is that, the sodium level is 13%, as opposed to Kiko Man and all of those who are 56 to 70% sodium. And that's not good for you.
I've been sprinkling nutritional yeast on top of my popcorn instead of salt.
Yeah. But I'm saying you could use Himalayan pink sea salt if you need to, because that's good for you, actually. It's actually good because it's natural. It hasn't been processed. The white salt is the one that the little girls walking down the street and, Morton's. That's what we were raised and conditioned on. It's not good for you at all.
But they say that the Himalayan pink salt doesn't have iodine in it, which is essential, that we need it.
Well, you need it, but you don't have to get it from that source. It's contributing to a different part of you being healthy, the Himalayan pink sea salt. And if you need niacin, you can get it from another source, usually the vitamin supplements, But I do all these things consistently and, with very disciplined. Very disciplined when I do it, because that way it works.
You don't drink alcohol. You don't do drugs.
I drink before I go to bed. I'll have a beer, or I have a glass of wine, and then I might have a beer before I go to bed. Sometimes, as a matter of fact, I had this fire, and I had this bottle of Grand Marnier, and it saved it, and I brought it back, and I thought, wow, when was the last time you had a shot of Grand Marnier? Because I like Grand Marnier, or I like Remy Martin cognac, but I'd hardly drink it because. It's just something. I just don't want to. I like wine. I like red wine. The Italians, they got me into that red wine. So it's like, hey. And I like beer. I like Corona beer, but it helps me sleep. I have a beer before I go to bed. And I usually take a couple.
But never before a show, right?
No. Never.
Alcohol is bad for the voice.
Well, it is. Alcohol is bad for the voice. And if you're going to drink some alcohol, beer is an exception, but if you're going, and so is wine, but if you're going to drink some bourbon or cognac or Grand Marnier or something like that, you need to rinse it off your vocal cords, because that's how you get noise, because the alcohol actually burns the tissue on your vocal cords.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to Sammy Davis Jr. That's why his voice was always sounding so rough. And ragged is because I've been up to his penthouse at Harris in Tahoe. When he was having parties up there, so I know the guy drinks that, and he doesn't, But you know, hey, you can't live your life by what other people do. You just got to look and say, okay, that doesn't work for me. Because my voice, I want my voice to be, you know, I see people when they get older, their voices start to decline. But I says, well, why though? I don't think it has to be that way if you take care of it. And my voice, in my opinion, is better than it was 30 years ago, because I've learned how to, you know, really, you know, take care of it, you know, and treasure, you know, the gift that I have, you know. And I've started, you know, I mean, I exercise, like I said, I exercise and I do all these things, you know. You know.
Yeah. I was spending so much money on Singer's Saving Grace for my throat.
I know.
It has alcohol in it, right?
Yes, exactly. No. What you need for your throat is apple cider vinegar and honey.
Okay.
That covers your throat. I mean, it covers it.
It's cheaper.
And it's cheaper, yeah. But the thing about it is the mixture. It's 1 part honey and 3 parts apple cider vinegar. And it's because it's unfiltered, you have to remember to shake it up. Okay, but once it mixes, it never separates.
Oh,
and it doesn't go bad.
Nice.
Yeah, and so it's always there for you. And as soon as you put it in there, 1 minute or 2 minutes. You spray it. I have a little. Most of my bottles are spray bottles, and you get them, you know, at Dollar Tree, you know, or where women buy the cosmetic things, the little trays, and they have those little bottles that they're going to take their perfumes on a trip with them and everything. I use those, and you just spray a couple of times in your throat, and it tastes great. But when you mix it 3 to 1, 1 part honey, 3 part apple cider vinegar, and when you taste it, the apple cider vinegar taste should be the dominant taste. Yeah. If it tastes too much like honey, you need to add some more apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wrong. So I have 9 fan questions and 10 fan questions, if you don't mind.
As long as it's not political, because I don't do politics.
No, smart.
I don't have time. Smart. Taking care of my mother and practicing and composing music. That's all I have time to do.
No, never. No, Dolly Parton said the same thing. Dolly Parton said, I have fans on both sides of the fence, so I don't know.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
John Litka from Milwaukee, who also puts on a Zappa festival every year, by the way.
Okay.
He said, I have a CD I bought at a Grandmothers of Invention show called This Is What Frank Heard. And it's Napoleon. He said it's your old band from Hawaii called Communication Plus performing live covers. It's a really good showcase of Napoleon's talents that impressed Frank enough to bring him into his band. I was curious as to the origin of that band and any details about their existence, how long were they around, etc.
Okay, I was when I was going to college, and when I got out of college, I was working as a behavior modification counselor. I worked with at a place called Rancho Linda School for the Mentally Retarded, and then I worked at Job Corps as a counselor, and then I worked at San Francisco Recreation Center for the handicapped. Well, when I was working at Job Corps, they started, who's that? Well, okay. They started wanting us to lie to the corpsmen. And so I started my band. I had always been playing music in San Jose. We have a music in San Jose that we call San Jose Funk. Anyway, I put this band together called Communication Plus. And we were playing in San Jose, and this one guy came by and he says, hi, I was listening to your band. He said, I want you to come and play in my club. And I said, okay. He says, you guys are really good. He said, and so I says, where's your club? He says, it's called Cisco's in Manhattan Beach. And he says, I co-own it with Dickie Smothers. And I said, okay. He says, we have a couple of clubs and we want you to come to play at both clubs. My band Communication Plus, we went up there. This is what's really strange. And every Friday night, Ike and Tina Turner would do a show there at the club before we started. This is really, really weird. And this guy's name was Claude Hall. And he was the second Marlboro man on the posters, you know, because the first one died from cancer. Well, this guy was the second Marlboro man on all the posters and everything. Okay. And him and Dickie Smothers own this club. They also own a club in Scottsdale, Arizona called the Red Dog. So we would go from San Jose to Manhattan Beach and then to Scottsdale, Arizona. And then we'd come back. We'd make our own little tour between California and Arizona. Okay. So then he called me one day and says, hey, I got a club in Hawaii. I want you to come to the club in Hawaii. I said, cool. So we went over to Hawaii and we were going over there back and forth. But this club was put together of musicians that I went to high school and college with. But I used to play with other bands, but I decided, to do it my own way because musicians wanted to play jazz and people can't dance to jazz. And so I said, no, people want to dance, dude. And so, and this is why we got all these gigs, without a manager or without, having a record out and anything. And our philosophy was just because we don't have a record contract doesn't mean we can't sound and be as good as all the other bands who have contracts. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you another little story with this band, Communication Plus. We were playing at this club called Cisco's in Manhattan Beach, owned by Claude Hall and Vicky Smothers. And they invented 2-on-2 beach volleyball with women wearing bikinis. They're the ones who invented it at Manhattan Beach. Now it's an Olympic sport. You know that. They created it there because what his idea was, if we can get these guys to come out and watch these women playing volleyball 2-on-2 at the beach in bikinis, and then we'll have the women come to the club and give them free dinner and everything, and all the guys come over there. I mean, it was smart marketing, But now it's an Olympic. Now it's an Olympic sport. Okay, I mean, I'm just giving you some stuff here. Okay, so anyway, one day this waitress came in and she says, wow, I heard you guys record on the radio. And I'm going like, oh, really? Because what you talking about? We don't have a recording contract. We haven't even recorded. I said, really? She says, yeah. She says, but why did you change your name to Santana? I said, well, you know how record companies are and everything. And I'm going like, what the heck is she talking about? Then I listened to the radio and here's Santana's first release called Evil Ways. My band had been playing Evil Ways for a year, okay? Because I love jazz music and I love all the jazz artists, but all the jazz artists were basically suppressed by the record companies, and Frank had the same thing. They wouldn't allow them to have their expression the way they wanted it. As a matter of fact, and so this one guy who used to produce them, his name was Creed Taylor, and he started his own record company called CTI, and all the jazz players then that's when George Benson started singing because he wanted to sing with Blue Note, and Blue Note says no. You're not a singer, you're a guitar player. CTI allowed him to sing, and that's when he came out, Lost in a Masquerade, and on Broadway and all of that. Okay, so did Hubert Laws, the flute player who was playing with Mongo Santa Maria, and all these other jazz players went to Creed Taylor because he allowed them, their freedom of expression to do what they want. Well, then I would buy all the albums, and then I bought this one because of Willie Bobo. And I said, wow, I look, because he's a percussionist, And I said, oh yeah, Willie Bobo's on CTI now. And I was listening to it, and I told the guitar player, who him and I were roommates, I said, check this out, man. I said, well, if we put a backbeat to this song, people can dance to it. And the name of the song is Evil Ways, okay? And then we started playing it, and we would play it all the time. And then 1 year later, Santana came out with Evil Ways. But if you check it out, Willie Bobo, and the name of the album is Willie Bobo, and tell the question asker, the name of Willie Bobo, and the name of the album is Bobo Motion. And on there is the song Evil Ways. And that's where, and so anyway, every year in Hawaii, they have this thing called.
Did Santana give credit where credit was due?
Well, I don't think so. And let me finish the story and then you decide, okay? And so anyway, we're in Hawaii, and every year they have this thing called the Crater Festival, where one of the volcanoes that is totally gone and they grew grass in there, they have a festival in there like Woodstock every year, okay? So Santana's at the Crater Festival, and so people started asking him, hey, Evil, why did you have this band play Evil Ways before you released it? And he said, what are you talking about? And they said, no, this band has been here. This band comes here every year. They've been here twice this year, and they've been playing Evil Ways, and they were playing it before you released it. Why did you have them? Did they do that to promote it for you? And he said, I don't know what you're talking about. So we're playing one night, and Santana walks up in the front of the stage with Coke Escovedo, Pete Escovedo's brother, Sheila Escovedo's uncle, and he was the drummer for Santana then. His name was Coke Escovedo. And he stood there with me. I said, all right, this is cool. So I went down and we talked and everything. And he says, they tell me that you've been playing Evil Ways for almost a year now. I said, oh, that's right. You like Willie Bobo too, huh? And so he went like, what? Yeah. So he heard Willie Bobo do it and had the same idea that I had. But he had the guy from, what is it called? He died in a helicopter crash. He had
Buddy Holly?
No, the guy who had the
Stevie Ray Vaughan?
Yeah, he had concerts in
La Bamba?
He had a concert hall in San Francisco and one in New York. And Bill Graham. He died in a helicopter crash. You know, they thought they had to fly in the fog. Not, you know. But anyway, yeah, he's the one who produced Santana. Okay. And so that was the group I had, Communication Plus. And so Santana and Coke actually came and sat in with us that night and played Evil Ways with us on the stage.
Wow.
So Frank, destiny. I mean, it's destiny. But like I said, my band had a mindset because I gave them the mindset. I says, just because we don't have a recording contract doesn't mean that we can't play as good as all the ones who have recording contracts and have releases. And that CD, this is what Frank Zappa heard, is it explains that, or it says that, it speaks that, because Frank heard it and he recruited me on the spot. But that was destiny because he wasn't even supposed to come to Hawaii then. I mean, he was diverted because there was something that happened with Sal Marquez in Australia. And so Marty had, because Gail's parents lived in Hawaii. And so Marty had them, he diverted them to Hawaii first before they went back to LA, and then they went to Europe to do the European tour which was the last tour with Jean-Luc Ponty and Ian Underwood, as a matter of fact. And then Frank heard that was a recording that I made that night because I always recorded on 4-track. We would get a group of songs and we would learn them. And then I would record for 3 or 4 days and we listened to them the next morning. And we said, oh, we can fix that. Or we better fix that. Well, maybe you play that part, I play that part. Okay. So we were always, very conscientious about our sound because we knew that just because we didn't have a recording contract, hey, that doesn't mean anything. It has nothing to do with your ability to play music and to play it where people feel it and like it. And we were so diverse, as he will know if he has that CD, because we played everything. We played James Brown, but we also played Herbie Hancock. We played what's his name? Nilsson, Lime in the Coconut. We played James Brown. We played Carole King. We played Donny Hathaway. I mean, we played everything.
I'd like to see some videos of that. I would love to see videos of you singing that stuff.
Yeah, they didn't have video those days.
Oh yeah,
not really. I know that's the really weird part about today's technology. I wish we'd have had it back then. But Frank heard that. He heard that everything that's on that CD was that night. And that's Frank heard. That's when he contracted me, and recruited me to be his front man. And if he'd have said to be a side man, I would have refused. But he respected me enough to say, why would I want to stop being a front man for my band to be a side man for his band? That doesn't make sense. But he was smart and intelligent enough to know that he was going to offer me the job that he actually wanted me to do, and that was to front the band. But he also knew that I had enough humility and intelligence not to upstage him, because it's his music, and I was going to the conservatory of Zappa. And that was a privilege. And it wasn't an accident. It was a privilege that I will treasure for the rest of my life.
There's a lot of people playing Frank's music who forget that fact, unfortunately.
And that's too bad. That's too bad, because I and any band that wants me to play with them that plays Apple music, they have to submit a CD and possibly a DVD, but a CD, and they have to play the music right. Otherwise, I won't do it.
Right. You don't want to. You don't want to hurt.
Well, then there's the integrity, and the respect for the music, and if you can't respect this music, that's so far ahead of its time. In my opinion, time hasn't caught up to it yet.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It's even some of his lyrics that have nothing to do, his lyrics, like the no way to delay the trouble coming every day. Look what's going on now. Anyway,
Exactly.
on to number 2, John Hemlock from just outside of Chicago. Pygmy, Twilight, Roxy, and Elsewhere Memories. Reggie's and High Noon Saloon sounds like a great time. I guess he just wants you to give him some memories of the Twilight, Roxy, and Elsewhere. I don't know.
A Pygmy, Twilight, and Roxy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you've got the film now that's out, they remastered everything. The part I didn't like was with the girl coming up there, because to me, I'm not able to do what I do. You know, she kind of interfered with my concentration. You know, but Frank was making a video, and so he just threw a lot of things out there. But the Pygmy Twilight that was used on the recording, which was the best take, and yeah, it was fun. I mean, he wrote a lot of songs for me because he knew from hearing me at that club that night, in the diversity of the different sounds and the different styles that we were doing, that he knew how to compose music for me. He told me, I have a lot of songs that I have not been able to find anyone to sing them because they don't have the diversity within their ability to sing that you have. And I've been looking for you for a long time, and that's why I need you to come with me now.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So,
That's the biggest.
Pygmy Twilight was great, you know. I mean, and it kept evolving. I mean, if you listen to it on the Helsinki album, it's completely different, you know. And but it continued to evolve. But he would always allow me to ad lib, because he knew that my ad lib would be conscious of the soundtrack that was going on around me and the track that they laid down for me to do that. And so, yeah, it was fun. Roxy Elsewhere, all the musicians in San Jose, they couldn't believe I was with Frank Zappa, because they thought, you know, oh, he can't play jazz. Oh, okay.
Hmm?
And they saw me with Frank Zappa at the Circle Star Theater. They all came in there going like, that's Murphy?
Eat your heart out.
Yeah, well, you know, it was just like, you know, because they would want to play jazz in the clubs that people who went there wanted to dance. And so they wouldn't keep the jobs. But if you worked with me in my band, we worked all the time because we played music that the people wanted to hear so they could dance. You know what I'm saying? And that's the difference. And so a lot of the musicians around town said, oh, he can't play jazz because he's always playing the top 40 and, you know, the rhythm and blues and the rock and roll. He can't play jazz. Well, no, you know, why am I going to play jazz when they want to dance? You can't dance to jazz unless you take jazz, unless you take a class, jazz dance class or modern dance class.
Yeah.
But but no, it was great. It was great. I had the ability. I just needed to have the instruction, and I couldn't afford to go to conservatory. But then I was recruited to come to the Conservatory of Frank Zappa, and so that was one of the greatest blessings in my life, because it allowed me to come out and be who I am and show other parts of me that I couldn't show on a different level that I was on before I met him.
I love how he could, he had the ability to pick people like yourself and just know exactly what to do with them and let them shine. Everybody had a chance to shine, you know.
And he composed songs to bring that part of us out. Inca Roads for George. I mean, Redonzo for Ruth. I mean, he did that intentionally. And him and I, over a period of time, we developed a skill that I've had since I was a child. About 8, I got hit by 2 cars when I was 7, and one hit me, and when I was coming down the other way, another would hit me and knock me in the other direction. But I only had blood on my brain, no broken bones or anything. But after that, I for some reason was able to communicate with cats and dogs through what we later called thought transference. And Frank and I were able to develop that between us because we were doing so much banter, you know. And if you listen to the video, A Token of His Extreme, and we do room service, that was an incredible recording of that routine, because we were at our height, the height of our ability to use thought transference to communicate with each other what we were saying thinking without saying it. And if you look at that routine on the token of his extreme room service, I mean, we never, those things that we did that night, we'd never done before.
Cool.
Now the basic structure of the song, yes. And what we were doing was that, he would say something, or he would think something, and I would hear what he was thinking, and I would pick it up and carry it on. And so if you need to watch it, you just need to watch it and see that. But that's called thought transference, where we would transfer thoughts to each other without saying the words.
Nice.
Because Frank was an avid listening as an art person. He always drilled it into us. Listening is an art. And he was right, because people say, well, I was listening. I have ears, I'm listening. No. Ears are for hearing. That's why they make hearing aids. You know what I'm saying? But listening takes place in the brain, because you have to stop what you're thinking and allow yourself to open up so you can hear what's being said. And you can also hear what might not be, what isn't being said, but what is there in the thought process. I'm sure you've been in a group before of people and you're talking, and then you guys are talking about a particular subject or something, and then all of a sudden you have a thought, and then another person says exactly what you were thinking, and you say, wow, I was just thinking that. You might not say it out loud, but you say, wow, I was just thinking that. That's called thought transference. You see, if you put the thought out there in the atmosphere of the conversation, if a person is really listening and he's not dominating the thing by his thought being the most important thought, well, then you pick these things up. And if you throw it out there in the air, free mind thinking, they pick it up. And you say, wow, I was just thinking the same thing, the same words at the same time. How did you do that? And that's called thought transference.
And people say the word jinx. But that happened to me once when I was hanging around with a bunch of deadheads. And the one time I tried LSD, and I thought, oh, it must be the LSD, because things I was thinking someone else was saying, I'm like, oh, that's really trippy, but it could have been what you're talking about.
Well, it can happen really easy with LSD, but beyond that, it's a development of the brain that can function and without LSD, because we used to take LSD too, but then we woke up one morning and said, wait a minute, we could do it without the pill.
Yeah.
All we just do is just open up our minds and listen instead of trying to dominate the conversation or the air with our thought that we think is dominant. We just have to open our minds and listen a little more. And that's, and so we can do the same, because LSD would break the walls down. So you couldn't build up any firewalls,
Yeah, I tried it. I've never drank a beer, but I tried to, strange.
Isn't that weird? But those are the days those are the days in the Purple Owsley and all that, the stuff was pure. And now, but lately and years after that, or back after that, they started adding all this stuff to it, like speed and crank, and I mean, they just screwed it up. But the day of what's his name, the Purple Owsleys and all that kind of stuff,
and wavy gravy.
Yeah, that stuff was pure. I mean, it was good.
I mean, the Grateful Dead, sorry, they hung around with Timothy Leary, so
exactly.
I was hanging around with the band, so it was okay.
But he wasn't putting any junk in his stuff. He was a purist.
No.
I mean, that's not something that I would advocate that other people do.
No,
I did
totally
it when I was
anti-drug.
Yeah, well, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It takes too long to return. Yeah, it just takes too long to return to reality. I don't have time, and then it's a waste of time too. I mean, I get the same thing. I mean, I'm glad that they finally have the unlawful thing for marijuana, because it's never been a drug. It's always been an herb. It's always been an herb. And the Native American Indians, my mother's mother is purebred Choctaw, and my father's mother is purebred Cherokee. And they used to say the Indian and the peace pipe. It was just marijuana. And it was herbs. And they said, smoke this so we can calm down and relax and like each other. You know what I'm saying? Calm down, brother. Put your gun away. Have a smoke, And now you just want to marry my sister.
When I was like in my early 20s, I'd smoke, but I have zero time for apathy, so I can't. But I agree. I think it should be legal,
Well, yeah, but it's a very calming thing, and it relaxes you. But I don't do it unless I'm getting ready to go to bed. If I get ready to go to bed, I wouldn't do it and go drive. I treat it on the same level as alcohol, basically, but I'm even more careful with that than I am with alcohol. But I wouldn't drink and drive, and I wouldn't smoke and drive, or leave the house for that matter.
Right. You got to do it in your safe setting.
Well, otherwise you can't enjoy it, because if you're paranoid, then it's not fun.
Yeah, imagine driving when you're stoned. That's
I don't know how people do it. I go,
no,
no way, no way.
really dumb. So there's a guy named Fuzzby Morse from LA. Love your work with Frank, Napoleon. I play many instruments, flute among them. How often did Frank have you play the flute? And any insights into how he regarded it as a tool in the orchestration arsenal? Cheers, Fuzzby.
Yeah, well, Frank was let's see, let me try to put it. He was a genius, okay? And he saw, when he heard the music that he composed, he heard the instruments that were connected to the sound that he was hearing and that he was composing. And basically, if the part fit, he said use it. But if it didn't fit, we didn't use it. I played it, when he wanted me to. And there were some songs that I didn't play on it, but that I use now to practice, because it gives me a challenge. Like, for example, Uncle Meat. Uncle Meat, when we did Uncle Meat, that were just flute parts within the structure of the song itself. And so if you listen to, again, A Token of His Extreme, we play Uncle Meat, but I don't play the flute through the whole song, okay? Because it wasn't composed that way. The flute was composed in certain sections because he wanted the sound of the flute there, because that was what he heard, when he composed the song. But now I play it. I play the whole song on the flute because it's a challenge to me. And if Zappa music, you have to practice it. Otherwise, you can't play it. I can play Song for My Father by Horace Silver, which is a jazz song, but I can play that without practicing it. And I haven't played it in 10 years. But Zappa music is different. If you don't practice it, you can't play it, because it's so complex, because everything that you were taught in school is kind of reversed. You were taught 1, 3, 5, 7 in school when you learn music. Well, Frank does 1, 2, 4, 6. So that changes the notes of the scale. So you have to change too. So, the first time I tried to play a solo at rehearsal, I said, I think my something's wrong here. And George and Ruth told me, says, no, it's the 2 chords, the 4 chord. It's not a 3/5, Napoleon. I went like, what? Why did he do that? He said, that's the construction of the song. I said, okay. So I had to stop thinking the way I was thinking. And the closest thing to hearing 2 chords and 4 chords is in classical music. And Frank studied with Edgar Varese, as you know, and he studied classical. And so they use those 2 4 chords in classical music all the time. And normally in rock and roll and all the other styles of music is where they use 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 5, 7.
Yeah. Complicated.
Yeah. It was complicated, but it was hey, he knew what he was doing. And he had the right people to do it. We totally bought into it because it was exciting for us, because we were like, Jesus Christ, this music is going to be so far ahead of its time. Time might not catch up with it, and it hasn't.
One mystery for me, anyways, is, the Zappa Family Trust that, playing Zappa music. They have Zappa bands here and there, and Zappa and Dweezil and so on. In my opinion, who cares? It's just my opinion. If I were them, I would recruit all the remaining living Zappa alumni to play his music, because he chose them for that specific reason. So why not utilize them? If they're hungry for work, they're talented. Why not? I don't understand that whole concept. Yes, there are a couple being utilized, but not enough. It would draw so many more fans, in my opinion. Anyways, let's roll on to number 4. El Dude Reno Lebowski. Okay, El Dude Lebowski. I think we all know his great work with Frank, but what I wonder is how was it working with Dweezil, and how did he feel about Zappa Plays Zappa and the continuation of Frank's music in live performances now? Who else could do it but Dweezil?
In every country in Europe, they have bands playing Zappa music, and they play it stellar. It's fantastic. Dweezil, he's not on top. He's in the mix, but no, I had a good time with Zappa Plays Zappa because Frank, Terry and Steve and we had a conversation, and we said, and we decided to do the tour, but we were doing it for what Frank did for us, okay? Because Frank brought us out of the darkness into the light, okay, all three of us, and he saw within us what only we knew we possessed, and he saw it and brought it out and allowed it to breathe. Dweezil and the rest of the family trust, and I have nothing against them, except they didn't write the music. And if you didn't write the music, basically, maybe you don't really know how to
execute.
Well, how to respect it properly and give it the respect that it deserves. You can't just look at it as a vehicle for monetary gain.
Agreed. And I don't understand how there's certain people in those bands that have never even met Frank or played with Frank, and they're still playing Frank's music, where you could use, Vinny or Terry or you or Ike. I don't understand that, but whatever.
Politics. It's politics. Well, it's politics and control.
Yeah.
You see, they want control, but you can't control a free spirit.
It's true.
Because a free spirit will not allow himself to be stripped of that freedom.
And maybe it would cost less to hire someone who is not a Zappa alum. Maybe they're thinking that.
You saw what happened with Zappa Plays Zappa tour. After the first 7 shows, the other 50 sold out all over the world where we went. Yeah. After 7 shows, all of them sold out.
Yeah.
I mean, that should tell you something right there, because the word got out based on the first 7 shows, that before you die, you need to see this. Get the ticket now. What? What it said to people who like Zappa is that before you die, you need to see this. Because this might be the last chance you get to see it done like this, with some alumni in there who are basically, we were the foundation of the ship. Yeah. That kept it afloat. Because all those other musicians, they were good musicians. I mean, all of them. I mean, Aaron, the keyboard player, oh my God, the 5 player. I mean, these guys were good musicians, and most of them graduated from a Berklee School of Music in Boston. So they knew what they were doing, but they played really, really well. And so it was easy for us, to come in there and do what we did. And what we were doing, we were basically showing them, okay, that's the music, but this is how you perform it. It's a show. And you embrace the music, because these people out there, they know this music. The audience knows the music, and you can't put it past them. Do it right or leave it alone. So no, Zappa Plays Zappa tour was great. But then after that, the reason I didn't do it anymore is because it got complicated because of politics and money and all that kind of stuff, and disrespect. There was a little disrespect there too, because if a person, tells you, you can't tell me how much you're going to pay me. You ask me how much I cost. I mean, it's like going to get a haircut, and you tell them, I want a haircut, but this is how much I'm going to pay you.
Yeah, no. I heard that mid-tour, the powers that be were like, oh, we're going to pay less now. Like a lot of people said that there was a price decrease for the alumni, and the alumni is like, what? Like, don't nickel and dime me, you know?
Yeah, well, that's why I use that analogy. You go into a barber shop and you say, I want a haircut and I'll give you $4. And or you go to a beauty shop and say, I want you to dye and cut my hair and style it and I'll give you $7. And she's gonna look at you and like, what do you think you are anyway?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing right there. That's the crux of the biscuit right there. That's why I use that analogy, because it covers what happened. You don't tell me, what you're going to pay me. You ask me how much my services cost, because you wouldn't be coming to me and asking me for the utilization of my services if they weren't something that you need to get done what you're trying to do.
I'm sure fans would not mind at all paying $100 to see you, Robert Martin, Ike Willis, Don Preston, Vinnie Colaiuta, Steve Vai, Chad Wackerman. I mean, just who
They
else?
take it out of the rent money. They would take it out of the rent money to buy the ticket.
Huh?
I mean, because we are those people
Yeah.
that were there with him. I mean, we're not, we're not a garage band. We were there.
Sense. It doesn't make sense. It should be like, the Zappa band should have all of the alumni that are still alive.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the people that are controlling things don't view it the same way you do, and that's unfortunate. But hey, or the main thing is that there's a lot of recordings with us on it with Frank, so that's
thank God.
Thank you. They're going to be there.
All right, so let's go on to number 5. John Colsar, Mooresville, North Carolina. What do you miss most about Frank? What would you like to tell him today?
Oh, let's go on tour and take no prisoners. That's what he used to always say. Frank had 3 things he would say. He would say, okay, let's take no prisoners, and let's go out there and make them realize that they might not have paid enough for the ticket. Really. No, he was really consciously aware of how futuristic his music was. And when he had the right set of musicians, and those are the ones with me, George, Chester, Tom, Ruth, and Frank, and myself. When he narrowed it down to those 6, he was so comfortable, because he said, and you read the back of the Helsinki album, and he says, this is the best band, because they can play anything, any tempo, any style, and no mistakes. Because we dedicated ourselves to be what he envisioned, and it was that way. And so he would always say, okay, let's go take no prisoners. Let's go make them think they didn't pay enough for the ticket or something like that. He would always say things like that, which is really good, because it inspired. We would go out there with a smile on our face, with the right attitude, that we're going out here to do something that, that's important. We're going to give them musical medicine.
Musical medicine. What would you say to him? I mean, what would you say to him?
That was why I say, let's do it. I would say, because we would repeat it back to him. So we're taking no prisoners, Frank. That's right, no prisoners. And he said, let's go out there and make them feel like they didn't pay enough for the ticket. No, they didn't either. Actually, that would be the conversation, and that's what we would. That's how we would talk before we went on stage. It would be that type of an atmosphere. Let's go get them. Let's go get them. Show them something that they'll never forget. And then some of them, they won't even think that I didn't see that, or I didn't hear that. My God, it couldn't be. Yeah.
I was surprised that you. Well, I didn't like the film, by the way, the one by Alex Winter. I gave it a pretty shitty review.
Which one?
It's the Zappa film that came out like a year ago by Alex Winter.
I haven't seen it. I didn't see it. I don't know.
You're not in it. Ike's not in it.
I didn't know about
it. It's I don't know why they wasted like 10 minutes with Pamela Bars and talking about Charles Manson when they could have been interviewing you or Ike or Don Preston, who lives in LA. Like, I don't understand. I didn't like it. So don't.
Well, it's control. It's control. It's being controlled by people who did not create or invent the product that caused the existence of this. Okay, so that instead of them treating it with with a high level of respect that it deserves. They just, they do what they do.
A lot of
That movie is a product of what they do. So that means they don't really know what to do.
Oh, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah. I haven't seen it, and I don't like it.
Oh, don't. I mean, why? I mean, Don Preston lives right there.
That's right.
Robert Martin's not in there. You're not in there. Don Preston's not in there. Like,
yeah, it doesn't seem to make sense to me either.
What the hell?
If you're talking about a person that and the people that he recruited himself to do this music. I mean, why would you go and interview or put someone in the film who was not people that were chosen by him to demonstrate his music and to play his music and to bring it to life? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and
make sense.
His sister should have been interviewed. Like, what the hell?
That's right. That's right.
Anyway.
It doesn't make sense. Well, there's no rhyme or reason to what they do. That's for sure. But I think most of it is because they're dealing with something.
I know exactly why.
They didn't create it. They didn't create it, so they don't really know which parts, what the most important parts of it is.
There's a certain person controlling things. I'm not going to mention his name. He's not in the Zappa family, and he's not a Zappa alumni, but there's a certain person in there, the great divider, and that's why. But move on.
You go.
Number 6, Terry Farthing. That's hard for me to say with this list.
Mm-hmm.
Terry Farthing, aka TJ from Kankakee.
Okay.
What's the best piece of advice Frank gave you?
Well, the best piece of advice Frank gave, I think, to shorten it down and to give one example that makes sense is the one I just told you. And he said, music is the best.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Nice. Number 7, Miran Molk. Are you recording your own music? All the best from Slovenia. You were here with the Grandmothers of Invention.
Yes. And I'm working on a couple of albums now, as a matter of fact, and some of my original music and some other recorded music that I've been wanting to record for a long time. The only thing that is put brakes on it or is not allowing it to surface is the situation that we're in right now in this pandemic. It's really a serious thing because it can wipe. It can stop. It can stop a lot of things. You have to be really careful now. I'm not into dying. I don't like to be, and I'm not into being sick, and I'm not into giving in to something that I have no control over. So if I don't have any control over something that could end my life, I give it the highest level of respect. Okay, until it's over, because I know that people are dying every day, and the last thing I want is to have something like this come along and ruin everything that I've been able to accomplish in my life, and that applies to music and people that I've come in contact with and got to know because of music, and the people that I'm still looking forward to meeting and performing for, because I know music is a healing. It's a healing thing. And Zappa music is really healing because it reaches out for those who aren't obvious. They're not obvious. I mean, most people that like music are obvious, but there are some people, who, that takes music like Zappa to reach them because they have more of an open mind and they're thinking, and it's, yeah, I'm working on it, but everything in time. You don't want to rush anything, because if you do, sometimes you devalue it, and I'm not going to devalue it. But I'm going to be healthy, and I'm going to stay healthy, and I'm going to be ready to do what I want to do, how I want to do it, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, when that time comes and when this is behind us. Mm-hmm. I'll be ready.
They say haste makes waste, and you want to.
That's right. That's right. Don't take nothing for granted, and I believe in patience, because, hey, we can only change ourselves. We can't change anyone else, and we surely can't change a pandemic, or a virus, that you can't even see. And so you should be respectful of it, because it could be detrimental to your existence, and you don't want that.
Mm.
I really am not into dying and getting sick. I really don't like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So everybody needs to take care of their health, like we started.
Exactly. You know, your health is your wealth. You know that.
Yep.
How many times have you said that?
I say it every day.
There you go.
Every damn day, and I think of you every time I say it.
Well,
So
thank you. But it's true, Dot. You know it's true.
it
Your
is.
health is your wealth.
I
Because
mean,
if you don't have your health, forget about it.
do I look healthy?
You look really healthy. You look really good. You look really good. You look younger than you did last time I saw you.
I
What
eat.
are you doing?
My
must
kids.
be the pink sea salt. Huh? No.
Yeah. No, my little son is keeping me.
There you go. Well, that's whatever it is.
Oh, and the kale smoothie.
Latch on to it and don't let go.
The kale smoothies, hon. Bill Leyland. Nappy, everybody spells your name differently. I want to point this out, okay?
Mhm.
I personally write it Nappi because it sounds like happy, nappy, but with an I. This guy writes it Nappy, and I think you write it Napi.
Well, the difference, here's the difference in those spellings. Nappy is the spelling of in England and in Canada for a diaper that you put on a baby that pees and poops. Okay.
I've totally.
Your spelling is closer to the original spelling, the one that I use, because when I went to Hawaii, these Samoans came up to me at the end of the night and said, "Hey, brother, you're really good, brother. You're really good. What's your name, brother?" I said, "My name is Napoleon." "No, brother, your name is Nappy." I said, "No, my name is Napoleon." And they said, "No, your name is Nappy, because in Hawaii, Napoleon in Hawaii is nappy." And I says, "No, nappy is a diaper." They said, no, brother, no. Not Nappy, Napi, because I is E in Hawaii. That's why they say wiki, but they spell it Wiwi, wiki. And so I explained, they said, no. And in Hawaii, the name Napoleon, not Napoleon, like they spell it in the United States, Lain, hello. No, it's Napoleon, like the city of Lyon, France. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
But Nappy in Hawaii, that name and that spelling, Napoleon in Hawaii is Napi, Nappy.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
we'll stick with
that's
that.
why I use it that way. And this is what you should explain to him or tell him. That's the difference. That's the difference in the spellings. And it's the true difference, because I don't want anybody to Nappy because I'm not a diaper.
Definitely
I don't really care for poop either.
Nappy always seemed to love playing with Frank. Just wondered what he misses the most about not performing with him anymore. The practicing was very intense, but Napoleon seemed to enjoy that too. Does he get that same fun playing with other performers? If so, who?
Not as much as Frank. Was Frank that was always evolution. You see, Frank would go from evolve to one spot, and then you come to rehearsal with a couple of different members of the band or something, and he would evolve in another level that you never heard him, that you didn't expect to happen. Like the difference between the band that did the Roxy and the band that did A Token of His Extreme, and then the last tour that we did with Terry and Andre Lewis and Roy Estrada. They're completely different. But we evolved, and that band was great too. That band was really good. Roy Estrada never played that. He never played in his life as good as he played then. A lot of people didn't believe that was him playing bass. And I said, no, because Frank sat down with Roy every day and they went over, and he said, no, I want you to play this. And he brought out of Roy what he couldn't bring out of Roy with the old grandmother, with the old mothers. The first group, the Susie Cream Cheese, the Freak Out, because the other members of that band, some of them were not ready to evolve to the level that he made. When Frank included Roy with me, Terry, and Andre Lewis, then he said, okay, with this ensemble, you need to play this on the bass. And so he would practice with him all the time. He would be in there with Frank all the time, and Frank would be telling him the relatives to play as opposed to the root. because the root is there too, but also you have the relative. And Frank, I mean, I've seen him do it all the time. I used to go, wow, man, wow, that's so much love there. And he loved Roy, because, and Roy had that voice, that he could do. I mean, he would crack Frank up. I mean, Frank would go choking sometimes because of the things Roy would say. But that was a good man. That was another good man. Yeah. And, evolution. Every time there was a new members or new members of the band or ensemble, the different ensemble, he would always have them evolve into another level of Zappa music that had not been done before.
That's hot.
Yeah, it was great,
It was never boring.
No. And you had to practice all the time because he didn't allow mistakes. That no, can't make a mistake. No, he stopped you right in the middle of the show. I mean, you stopped me a couple of times. He stopped Ruth, so I didn't feel so bad because he stopped Ruth in Helsinki, and I said, "Well, I don't feel so bad because he stopped me in Canada at a summer festival. There were 25,000 people, and we were doing the Dub Room special. But before we did A Token of His Extreme, he stopped me when the cameras was rolling, and and when he did it in front of 25,000 people at the summer festival in Canada." The people thought it was part of the show, but it shocked all of us because we all were like, whoa.
What did he say? What did he say?
He started the song and the count. And I said, oh no, I don't believe it. You say, they said, stop, wait a minute. And we all stopped and looked around and said, Napoleon, wrong intonation. I said, huh? And George and Ruth, they were like, that's how serious he was about his music. Not the wrong notes, not the wrong words, not the wrong styling, the wrong intonation in my voice of how I executed the line, oh no, I don't believe it. Wrong intonation. And he was serious as a heart attack. But then we were doing Helsinki and we were doing Inca Roads. And Ruth's part goes da 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 da. Well, Ruth played da 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 da. He said, whoa, what's wrong with you? And she says, I was looking at you and I hit my hand. He says, ladies and gentlemen, it goes like this. And so when he did that to her, I didn't feel so bad. I said, because if he'll do it to Ruth, graduate of Juilliard Conservatory of Music in New York, if he'll stop her in the middle of the show in a live audience and tell her, no, that's wrong, do it right. If he wouldn't allow even that. And so that's why we said, hey, and after he started doing stuff like that, we talked about it at Breakfast Without Him one time. And we said, we're not going to allow him to do that anymore because we're not going to make any mistakes anymore, ever. No, seriously. We talked about it without him. And we said, okay, you want to play like that? Okay. But we did it out of respect for him because he was saying, no, because once you go down that road, it doesn't get better, it gets worse. And if you allow it to happen, that means that you're saying that it's okay. And it's not okay. That's not the way I composed it.
Got to keep the reins tight.
Well, and why do it wrong when you can do it right? That was basically what he was saying. Hey, why do it wrong when you can do it? I know you can do it right. You've done it before. So why are you choosing to do it wrong now? Articulate, pay attention to what you know, articulate and mean it what you do. Because there's another thing he said, we're going to go out there and we're going to do a show tonight because the people that we played for last night, they're not here tonight. You see, so they didn't see us like, we can't go out here and perform and like, oh, well, we did a hell of a show last night, so we don't have to do as much tonight. He said, no. He says, you do this show every night as if it was the first show and possibly the last show.
Oh, that's nice.
And so we went like, that makes sense. Because the people here tonight were not here last night. We're not there last night. And so they didn't see us have that, So why should you give the people tonight less than we gave last night? Every night you give it all. And they will respect you for it. And they will respect you in a level level that that's totally respectful for what for the work that you've done and for what you did to produce it the way you did. And I mean, we respected him for that because he covered all the angles of that. Logical. It's illogical, but it's true.
And that's why there was no room for getting fucked up on a Zappa tour.
No, that's the word. You don't want to do that. No alcohol, nothing. No marijuana, nothing. Or not even a beer. Just caffeine. That was the drug of choice. And he says it's legal. Yeah. And so we all bought into that. And I drink it like that now. I mean, when we did the Zappa Plays Zappa tour, I would make coffee for me and Steve and Terry. And they would call it Black Death. Because we were the only three that would drink it. Just the three of us. Because we did that because that's what Frank, he taught us that. He says, well, you get ready to do the show and play this music. You want to be on top of it. You don't want to be trying to catch up.
Yeah.
Drink this coffee. But drink it like real coffee. I mean, he says Black Death. I mean, if you put the amount of grounds that, like in Europe, people call the coffee, the people in Europe call the coffee that we drink colored water, as you know.
I know.
Over there, I mean, when I first went to France and Italy, and I saw all the taxi drivers lined up in the morning, and the line, I used to ask the promoter, "What's going on there?" "Oh, they're getting ready to get some coffee so they can drive." but coffee, I mean, I'm going like, coffee? They said, yeah, well, it's a little bit different than the coffee that you're used to. I mean, they get espresso, but I mean, it's a drug at the level that they drink it. But
that song. Huh? France, it eats right through the cup, and when you go caca, they make it like that. Cracks me up.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I mean, but like Frank said, it's legal. Sure. And the thing about it is that we found, and he was right. I mean, I still do it today. I'm getting ready to go on stage, I have some Black Death. I go to Starbucks. I said, yeah, give me a grande Pike's Place with two ad shots. Really? No, yeah. What do they call it? They call it, I forget what they call it. Let's see. They call it one shot. I forget what they call it. But anyway, the two shots. I always put two shots in their strongest coffee. What do you have? The roast? Yeah, take that, but two shots in there. I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, it's working.
Exactly. And coffee is actually good for you, health-wise. It's really good for you.
I have every other day I have a cup, and on the other alternative days I have green tea. But so do you
green tea is really good though.
It is.
Really good for you too. It's really good for you. Yeah.
So do you have that same kind of fun with other performers as well, or no?
Absolutely. Anybody that plays Zappa's music that I play with, and they play it to the level of giving it the highest respect, I have fun with them all the time because we are, we're on the same page.
You're vibing.
But we're on the same page. Yeah, we're vibing, but we're on the same page because we're enjoying what we're doing, and we're doing something that we know we took over and above to prepare it so we could, execute it, and it's fun. Yeah, I know. I love these musicians, who take it seriously. And this, like this group I was telling you about that I played with here, the Stinkfoot Orchestra, man, I really respect them because they dedicated themselves.
So much fun on stage. You look like you're having fun, and
I wouldn't do it if I wasn't having fun. I mean, I love it. Because it has become an extension of me. Because I know that when he recruited me, and I learned, he says no, he says you're a central part of what we're doing now. He says because you're that piece of the puzzle. These other people are that pieces of the puzzle too. He says, and now we make a landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he says, it's always going to be there. It's like a Van Gogh. It's always going to be there. It's not going to change, and it's always going to have that value. It's never going to decrease in value if you maintain the integrity and the respect for it when you play with other people, because if you allow them to do it wrong or to not give it the highest level of respect to where they practice it, where they play it right with no mistakes, well, then you're doing not only a disservice to him and to the music, but to yourself.
Yep, absolutely. Embarrassing to see
Well,
sloppy work.
that too. Yeah, but only once. You know, you only get to do that once to me. But that's why I check them out before. Send me the CD, and I'll listen to it, and I'll get back to you. That's why I tell them. Yeah.
Then we have number 9, Matthew Conley from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Which Zappa song belongs in a time capsule for space aliens to discover, and why?
The Yellow Snow, Sweet. Yellow Snow, Sweet. Yeah. That was one of his. I mean, that was the first album I did with him, Apostrophe.
That's nice.
And when I was hooked. I was hooked at that after that, because that suite of songs, man. I mean, it is just so
spectacular.
Spectacular, exactly. It's just unbelievable.
Then we got number 10, Joe Paris from New Jersey. Hi, Napoleon. Will we be seeing you perform in New York City anytime soon? I hope.
Yes, as soon as they allow us in there, and where we're protected. Yes. I wish the sooner the better for me. Yes.
Would you tour with the Stinkfoot Orchestra?
Yes, they're very good. I would tour with them because they play the music right.
Oh, okay. I do remember the last time I saw you at the Zappanal. I think, no, for sure, you were the Zappa alum that played with the most bands. You were like, it was like 3 days of bands, and you must have performed like with 5 bands per day. Yeah,
it was different. Yeah. But as long as they practice the music and play, and the thing about European musicians, they're very serious. They take playing Zappa music very seriously, which you got to respect. I respect them for that, and the majority of them that tackle it, they've studied classical music or something, in that level, and they've gotten to, or jazz, and they've gotten to the point to where it has not become mundane, but has become, they're so familiar with it, it doesn't allow that, it doesn't cause them to have to go deeper or do anything else. Zappa music does. When jazz musicians get, like I said, I can sing songs for my father. I can pick up my sax player right now, and I haven't played it in 10 years. But Zappa music, you have to practice. So if they're playing it, that means they practiced. Because there's only 2 ways to play it, right or wrong. And I don't know. Mm-hmm. They respect it too much to play it wrong, and I respect them for that.
I love the Muffin Men and
oh yeah,
they're fun.
They're good. They're fun. They're, like you said, that's the thing about them. They're a lot of fun.
They are. So before we depart, when I called you the other night, you told me some horrific news, but I want to let you tell your fans what happened. I mean,
yeah. Well, I've been here. I have a home / studio, 4-track studio in San Jose, in the country of San Jose. That's where I live. But when the pandemic came, I had to start taking care of my mom. She was 93 then, and now she's 97. And I had to take over her care, because the people that were here that she had adopted and that she had raised, they weren't giving her the level of respect that she deserved. And so I moved them out, and I moved in and took over the care of her myself. And I moved in a caretaker, a caregiver, to live with her. Well, then that person, when the pandemic came, that person who lived here, she was waiting for a senior's apartment, and it finally came. And it just happened to come at the same time that the fact that the virus came. So I moved in and started taking care of my mom. The problem is I only was able to go to my own place maybe once a week or maybe twice a week after that. And what happens is that if you have a house or something, and this house is like in the country of San Jose, and if you're not there, if mice and rodents, if they don't hear any activity, what they do is they move in. And so it's been a couple of years. and they moved into my place, and I saw the rat droppings and the mouse droppings all over. So I put in about 14 traps, and I caught about 13 of them and killed them all. And then it didn't do it anymore. What I didn't realize was that they had moved in when it was really cold part of the year to try to get warm. And the only thing that was working in my house was the refrigerator. Everything else was unplugged. And so the refrigerator would refresh itself going off and on, but it created heat near the motor. And so they moved in there, and anyone that can tell you that they have rats in, if you don't use a car for a long time, you might get a ground squirrel up in there. But what they do is they chew on the wires. While they're laying around doing nothing, they chew on the wires. And that's the dangerous part. Every time I would go to Europe, every year I went to Europe, I would come back and I would go raise the hood to put the battery post back on my car, and I could see where the ground squirrels had been living in there. They would gone in there and they would take the fiberglass off the top of the bottom of the hood and make beds. And they would live in there. One time I opened the hood when I came back from Europe, and they were looking at me like, what? We live here. I mean, it was just like, but they're really arrogant in that way. But if they don't hear anyone there, if they don't hear any motion, they move in. And, it's a big house. But anyway, what they did was they chewed the wires to my refrigerator. And what they did, the wires arced one day and caused a fire. Fortunately, my neighbor saw it when it first started and called the landlord and the groundskeeper, and they came and put it out. But what happened was that it destroyed my place, because everything that the fire didn't destroy, which was basically isolated to the kitchen where the refrigerator was, the smoke damage was just horrific. I mean, the smoke damage, if I wear a pair of tennis shoes to go to try to clean up, I have to take them off outside when I come back to my mom's. But the bottom line is it destroyed everything of mine. Fortunately, I had my instruments and my music and some of my clothes here with my mom's. So none of my instruments were damaged, but my 4-track studio the smoke just killed it. Smoke, if you've ever had a fire at your home or something, the thing that's really bad about a fire is the smoke. And here's the most important part. I wasn't there. Because if I had been there, I saw the way my bed was and the way the smoke came back there, and it would have, I don't think I would have made it out alive, because it's just the carbon dioxide from the smoke is so thick. I mean, it just laid itself on the walls and on the toilet. I mean, everything, the shower and the bathtub. I mean, it's like someone painted it on there. That's how thick it was, or that's how thick it is. Another friend of mine in Germany had the same thing happen at a condominium, where he had a condominium in the country. His daughter's boyfriend had her motorcycle charging, and it caught on fire, and the whole place went up. It took 6 months before they could move back in there, before they cleared the place of the smell of the smoke and the existence of the smoke. The fire damage wasn't as bad as the smoke, and that's what happened to my place. I mean, it just ruined me. I mean, and at a time that, I can't stand, I mean, it's not good for me, because I'm here taking care of my mother. And so I own a mobile home. It's destroyed. I can't live there anymore. So I've cleaned it out, tried to save what I can, but I've got to get rid of it. And I basically have to find another one. But staying here with my mom, huh?
You can't work right now.
I can't work. Well, I can't. I mean, I get offers all the time to drive. I mean, I could get $30 or $40 an hour just driving for Amazon or all these other places that need drivers to deliver stuff. But I can't, because I have to be here to take care of my mom.
And
because
that's what I mean. You got to take care of your mom. She's like a little child.
Well, and she's like that. Like, I was going to feed her before we talked, but I go in there and she's not into it. I mean, they are like, they revert to like a child, and they start acting like a child, and they're very combative, and they're very, no, I won't open my mouth. You can't put food in my mouth. So I try to give her Ensure and liquid.
Open up.
Yeah, I mean, I have to create and be very creative in all the different ways that I can feed her. So I make juice, which is beets, carrots, and spinach and parsley and apples, because that flushes out the liver in the kidney. kidneys, but it's food. It's solid food because it's all raw vegetables. And then I give her Ensure because that gives her nutrients and everything that she would normally get from a meal. But very seldom will she let me feed her real food. And if it happens, I have to puree it. If she was going to have, for example, if she's going to have some Kentucky Fried Chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy, I have to puree it and then give it to her 1 spoon at a time with a small spoon, because she doesn't chew anymore, because, she's at that age. And so it was really devastating for me because I don't have a home now. I don't have a home now. It's as simple as that. And, and like I said, it was horrific. I mean, but I've been finding out because I've talked to people and people who heard or what happened to me. They have been calling me, telling me what happened to me is not necessarily isolated. I mean, I never knew what the people that go through tornadoes where it comes and just wipes them out, or like up in Northern California, Paris, I guess it was, where those wildfires were, and they would burn out entire towns. I never could really understand what they were going through because it wasn't happening to me. Yeah. Now I understand what they went through. Now I understand what they had to do to rebuild. Now I understand when they had to run out and save their lives and let the stuff just be stuff. Stuff you can get again. You can't get yourself again. I thank God every day that I wasn't there, because I would have died. The smoke would have, I wouldn't have been able to get out, And so, but like I said, I've heard from so many people now that heard about what I went through, that are telling me, hey, it's not an isolated incident. And then I think back about the tornadoes that they have back down south every year, the things that they went through in Texas just last year, where they didn't have power or anything. And then the fires, the wildfires that they have in California every year.
And the mudslides. The mudslides.
And the mudslides, yeah. But the fires itself just wipes. You remember when they had those fires over in Spain, and the people were trying to drive through the forest from Spain to Portugal, and they got trapped in there, and their cars and everything. Remember that? And I never could really understand, not that I didn't empathize with them and have compassion for them. I'm a human being. I know that they died from that, and so I have compassion for them, but I just didn't really know how what happens when you lose everything that you possess or that you hold dear, and you have to start over again. I really didn't understand that. Now I do. Now I understand.
Well, you seem to be really humble about it, because you didn't write about it on your Facebook page.
Well, like I said, I found out that that my situation was not an isolated situation. It happens to people all the time. It's just this time it happened to me. And the thing about it, and for them and for me, there was no fault of our own. It wasn't my fault. Yeah. I didn't know that those rats had chewed on the wires, and the wires had arced and caused a fire in the refrigerator. They were there because that was the only warm spot, because it had a motor going all the time. And that's pretty smart. You're going to go up there and have your babies next to the motor, and then while they're just laying around doing nothing, they chew on the wires. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying it was by no fault of my own, but the fact of the matter is that it's horrific, because it changes your life. You have to realign your thinking, because you have to say, well, the most important thing is that I wasn't there. And the stuff that I lost, I can get again. Yeah. Some of them, mementos and stuff like that, I'll never be able to replace them. And I'm still trying to get the smoke out of some of my clothes, and some of them it's not going to work. I washed some clothes. It took me 3 times to wash some laundry clothes, and with baking soda and vinegar to get the smell out. And some of the dress clothes that I use on stage, I'm going to try to salvage them and take them to the cleaners and check around to see which cleaners is experienced in getting that stench of the smoke out of those clothes. Because all of them don't have that talent or that knowledge of how to do that. and it smells bad. I mean, if I go, I have some bags of clothes out in my mom's garage. Every time I go out there, I smell it.
Mm.
I have some in my van that I was going to take dry cleaning. Every time I get in the van, I smell it.
It's a
That's
hard.
how strong the stench of smoke is that comes from an electrical fire.
Ow, gross.
And so it's like, I thank God that I'm alive, because the one thing that's going to happen after all this is over, as far as the pandemic and the virus, is that I'm still me. I wasn't physically damaged. I was a little emotionally damaged, but I can get over that, because tomorrow's only anticipated, and I'm not going to look back, Don. I don't look back. I look forward. I'm not gonna dwell on it, because we can't change anything but ourselves. I can't change that. I didn't make it happen. I wish it hadn't happened. It devastated me. And, I'm looking around like, and I'm trying to live with it, live with the reality of it, but I've got to figure something out.
Well, I think if you don't mind, I'm gonna tell the fans about it. I mean, they're gonna hear about it. And
thank you. Well, thank you. I hope they can understand.
and
That's
ask
what.
them to contribute, and I'm
Oh, really?
thinking it might not be a good idea to do GoFundMe, because they're going through a lot of legal problems right now.
Oh, okay.
So you have like a PayPal or Cash App?
Yeah, actually, I do have a PayPal account, and
Right.
my PayPal account is under it's Chapeletta Publishing Company, which is for my original music, but it's actually under my email address, nmubrock@pacbell.net. So if you could tell them that and give that to them, yeah, that's my PayPal account, and any money that's, oh wow, that would be any help I could get. There's nothing. Listen, I'm not. Hey, listen, I'm not turning down anything. Any help I can get, because
No,
like I
but
said,
you're taking care of your 97-year-old mom.
yeah,
Your home.
I have no choice. Well, I wouldn't not want to do it. I'm doing it because I want to, but
Yeah.
that's priority in my life.
Yeah. Family is everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I was here instead of there, because I was here. That's part of why my life is spared.
Right.
Because I was doing for others, other than just, being selfish and doing for myself.
Yeah. So because you're helping your mom, your life was spared.
Yeah. And she doesn't walk anymore. So I have to hoist her out of bed. And I never thought in my lifetime that I would be bathing my mom from head to toe. I never thought that.
Well, she was bathing your little ass when you had her.
Exactly. And I look at that scenario and I said, well, hey, it's what goes around comes around. It's all good. She did it for me. I'm doing it for her.
Aww.
But
My son does that for me.
Yeah, but you never think that, because you hadn't been there before, and I've never been at this point in my life and her life where we're together. I never considered the possibility that would be something that I had to do, but it is.
Does she still know who you are? She doesn't have dementia or anything, does she?
No, but she talks less and less now, because of the pain that she's going through. She has a lot of pain, and because of her age and everything, she has to be given morphine for pain, and also another drug which was for depression and anxiety and restlessness. So, and it's called lorazepam.
Hmm.
So I have to give her that every 4 hours, and every 5 hours I have to give her morphine.
Oh, wow.
And unfortunately, what it does is that it limits the the verbal conversation between us.
But it keeps her out of pain.
It keeps her out of pain, and that's what's the most important. We've talked for years, and so I have to look at the high side, the highlight of it. And the thing about it is that I don't want her to be in pain.
Right. Well, you can pet her hand and let her know that you love her.
Oh yeah, she knows. Well, she knows. She knows. She says I'm feeding her every day, and I'm cleaning her. She knows. She looks at me. So, but she knows. No, she knows. And it's like I said, it's mom.
Yeah.
It's
mom
mom
comes first. Without her, I wouldn't be here.
That's right. And how weird
for the time to come, because if it wasn't for the pandemic, I might be in Europe right now.
Oh, wow.
know.
Yeah.
But because of the pandemic and everything, and how the new variants and everything, and how it's it's dangerous to go out and not be protected, I have the time to take care of her and to take care of her properly, and
Wow.
as she deserves the best, because she's been there for everybody. She was
Yeah.
always there for everybody all her life, and now it's time to show her that that we care about her and we care about what she did. And
Aw.
let's think of the fire. I got to put it behind me,
Yeah.
but I got to start all over, and I've got to have a point to start from. And pretty soon, I'm going to have to get a job,
Mhm.
because things cost money. It's
Yeah,
just the way it is.
I've always found that kind of sad that the alumni don't get any royalties, but that's,
How about that? How about that? Yeah, it's about that. That's another subject. That's another subject we can talk about sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So but you do have, so I'm gonna put the PayPal link in under
Okay.
the description.
Oh,
And
thank you so much. That'd be so great. I mean, anything is, hey, I appreciate anything that anyone does.
yeah,
I really do.
and I'm gonna put your shows that are upcoming, in
Okay,
California.
I'll get those. I'll get them, and I'll send you the list, because we
Okay.
have about 4 of them coming in the next couple of months.
All right, good. All right, Napoleon, thank you for your time, and we're gonna have to do this again.
Yeah,
in a
I
couple
think
months
so.
to see how you're
I
doing.
really appreciate you, Doc. I really appreciate you doing this. That's
I
really
appreciate-
great.
Hey, it's
Hey,
my pleasure to help, and
I appreciate it.
it was long overdue that we catch up anyways.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I love you. I love you
Love
for
you
that.
too.
That's
Love
fantastic.
you too.
Give a kiss to your son for me, okay?
Yeah, a little spanking and a kiss.
That's right. Well, God bless you. Let's do this again.
Oh yeah, we will for sure. And give your mom a kiss.
Okay, and you let me know when, and we'll schedule and we'll do it again, because I'm going to
All
be
right,
there.
hon.
Okay.
Bye.
Love you. Bye bye.
Love you too.
Okay.